Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Today in the rLounge, it's how do we go from I do to I will absolutely ruin your week if necessary. Let's get into it. Up first, less happily ever after and more may the best bride win. Am I the a-hole for stealing my sister-in-law's wedding date? Hi everyone, I'm new here. I was told to post on this sub if I was looking for genuine feedback, which I am. I, 25 female, am engaged to my fiance, 32 male, since last October. We have been preparing our wedding for months now. My sister-in-law, 32 female, I will call her S, has been very involved and helped me a lot. She went dress shopping with me, cake tasting, gave me vendor contacts, and knew all the details of our wedding. I don't have a sister and I'm not from this city. All my family lives hundreds of kilometers from here, and I don't really have close friends, only coworkers. So I really appreciated having her support. Now my family and fiance's family are not really religious, but in our culture, a lot of people are a little superstitious. One of these superstitions is the evil eye. It is the belief that when people envy you or even know too much about your plans, it can bring bad luck and things can go wrong. Because of this, some people prefer not to talk about their plans until everything is done. S believes in this a lot. She never tells you anything in advance. If she buys a car, you only see it once it is parked outside. If she is trying for promotion, she tells you only after she gets it. This didn't bother me before, but last year it started to hurt. She hid her pregnancy for 7 months. She always avoided me with excuses like being sick and contagious or busy or out of town. I only found out because her fiancé told mine by accident. She officially told me when she was already 8 months pregnant. She also said they didn't know the baby's gender, but again, her fiancé had already told mine. She didn't even tell us when she gave birth. We found out 2 weeks later. This really makes me feel like she thinks I can't be happy for her. What hurts me is that she asks me about every detail of my life, and I share openly, but she hides very important things from me because she is afraid I will envy her or bring bad luck. I spoke about this many times with my fiancé, but he always says it's not a big deal and that it's just how she was raised. Keep in mind, no one in his family is like this. Not his mother, not his uncles or aunts or cousins. She's the only one with this weird fixation. When I started planning my wedding, S asked to be my bridesmaid. Because I don't have family here and I felt close to her, I accepted. She really helped me a lot and I was grateful. She mentioned that she and her fiancé were planning their wedding in March, around 2 months after ours. She said helping me gave her many ideas. I offered to help her too, but she always said things like, I'm not planning anything big, or it didn't start yet. For months before her wedding, she was still saying she didn't start planning anything. I already expected that she wouldn't include me and that I would receive the invitation at the last minute as usual. Then something happened. I went to choose our wedding invitations in a very well-known shop in our city. I was really overwhelmed by the amount of designs and invites available, and that the employee noticed. She offered to show me an album with her best sellers already printed invites. While looking at them, I suddenly saw an invitation with S's name and her fiancé's name on it. It had a wedding date. My jaw dropped. I asked the employee, and she said these are customers' invites that were previously printed for their customers. Here was her wedding invite, planned to take place 1 week before mine. I was shocked. She was clearly planning her wedding and didn't tell anyone in the family. Worst, she knew our date and chose to have her wedding the week before, the same day my henna was set to take place, an event to which S was already invited. At that moment, I knew that if I told my fiancé, he would excuse her again. My head was racing and I acted without thinking too much. I called her venue and asked if they had another date available the week before. They did, on a Friday, 1 day before the date I saw on her invitation. The venue was happy to change it because it would free a Saturday for them. Now I'm not proud of this, but I called my fiancé and lied to him and told him there was a problem with the venue schedule and that Friday was the only date available. He was worried that some people might not be able to free a Friday for the wedding, but I said I would manage everything with the guests and the vendors. Most vendors came with the venue, flowers, catering, music, so I wasn't really worried. Everything happened so very fast and I confirmed the new date and asked for the invites to be printed. Last week, we received them, and we hand-delivered the invitations to his family during Saturday dinner. When S saw the invitation, she completely lost it. She started screaming, crying, and accusing us of changing the date on purpose. She called me a snake and said we planned this behind everyone's back. No one understood why she was reacting like this because she didn't tell anyone about her wedding. When her fiancé arrived and saw the invites, he immediately understood what was happening. He asked her to leave, but she kept screaming, Since then, she's been crashing out online, sending angry messages in the family WhatsApp group, and calling my fiancé, asking him to change our wedding date. I feel guilty because I lied not only to them but to my future husband, but at the same time I feel relieved that I won't have to cancel all my pre-wedding events, have my family-in-law miss all the joined family events because her wedding will be the priority, and spend the week before my wedding dealing with talks about her wedding photos and all kinds of comparisons. So, am I the a-hole for changing my wedding date and sabotage my sister-in-law's secret wedding? What should I do to amend the situation? I feel trapped and past the point of no return. Any advice? Update. Hi everyone. I didn't expect my original post to get so much attention, and I definitely didn't expect so many people to message me asking for an update, even weeks later. But since a lot of you are invested in the situation, I wanted to come back and explain what happened after everything unfolded. First, I want to clarify because I saw many assumptions in the comments that were not correct. A lot of people thought I was from East Asia or Turkey, which is not the case. My family is originally from North Africa, but we are second generation living in Europe, so we are not very religious or extremely traditional, even if we kept some cultural traditions like the henna ceremony before the wedding. I just wanted to clarify this because I saw a lot of discussion about culture that didn't really apply to my situation. After posting, I spent a few days reading comments and I tried to take a step back and reflect, because even if some comments were very supportive, others were quite critical of me, especially about lying to my now husband and acting behind his back. After I posted, the situation in the family didn't calm down at all. Actually, it got worse for a few days. My sister-in-law kept sending messages in the family group, going from accusing me of changing the date on purpose to saying I was hiding things, to asking my husband to fix the situation. The problem is that nobody really understood why she was reacting that strongly, because she never told anyone about her own wedding plans. So from the outside, it just looked like she was overreacting. A turning point happened when her fiancé called my husband privately to apologize for her behavior. He explained everything, including the fact that she had been planning on her wedding on the exact date for a while, and that she had no intention of telling the family until the last moment, which is something she has always done. When my husband came to me after the call, he was honestly shocked and a bit hurt. That's when I told him the truth, that I already knew about the date because I saw the invitation at the shop, and that I had changed our wedding date right after that without really thinking it through. I apologized as I genuinely felt guilty for not being honest with him and for making such a big decision on my own. He was so angry at his sister that this didn't bother him as much as I thought it would. I think the fact that she was planning a full wedding 1 week before ours, knowing all our dates and events, without saying anything to anyone really triggered him. He said it felt disrespectful and hurtful. He addressed it directly in the family group chat, and that's when everything really exploded. He told everyone what she had been planning, not mentioning that I already knew or that I had changed the date intentionally, but making it clear that she was preparing her wedding in a way that would have affected ours. This created days of arguments with family members taking sides. At that point, I stepped back completely because it was no longer about me. It became something between him and his sister. She kept arguing with him, saying he was jealous of her and her fiancé, accusing him of trying to ruin her happiness, and bringing up old family issues since they were kids that had nothing to do with the wedding. It became very personal very quickly, and honestly quite ugly and uncomfortable to watch. After the wedding itself, everything went as well as it possibly could. My family was able to come from abroad. We had the henna ceremony, the preparations, and the wedding without major issues. My sister-in-law did not attend any of the events. After everything that was said, I don't think she felt comfortable coming, and honestly, I don't think it would have been a good atmosphere if she did. Since then, we haven't really had contact with her. The last thing she said in the group was that she is postponing her wedding and that she needs to rethink who she considers family going forward. We haven't heard anything else from her since. My wedding turned out to be everything I imagined and even more. With everything that was happening, I was afraid the drama would affect it, but it didn't, and I was really able to enjoy every moment with my family and my husband. I also want to thank everyone who commented and shared their opinions, even the harsh ones. It helped me reflect and process everything better. So thank you again, and I'm happy to say that at least this part of my story had a good ending. Your sister-in-law is a lot. Like hiding a pregnancy for 7 months while simultaneously asking you about napkin colors and his unhinged behavior. That's not evil eye. That's, I want full access to your life while giving you absolutely nothing in return. Anyone would start to feel a little weird and a little hurt by that. And then the secret wedding a week before yours? After being involved in every detail of your planning? Come on, that's shady. I don't care what cultural lens you put on it. That would rub anyone the wrong way. But you went full, fine, I'll move my entire wedding and not tell my fiancé the truth. That's the kind of decision you make at 2 a.m. and then wake up like, oh no. Do I get why you did it? Honestly, yeah. You were hurt. probably felt a bit played and didn't want your wedding overshadowed. That's valid. But the way you handled it, a little messy. What do you think? Up next, one enthusiastic mother-in-law, a complete disregard for boundaries, and a purple dyed relic from 1985 making a surprise comeback. Am I the a-hole for threatening to elope if my future mother-in-law doesn't stop planning a tacky wedding for me? I, 30 female, will be getting married to my fiance, 35 male, in June. Just some background. I moved from Canada to Ireland to be with my fiance. My entire family lives in Canada, and my parents are elderly and in poor health. I left my job in Canada and can't work in Ireland until after I get my visa, which can't happen until after I get married. My fiance has a great job, but money is still tight. On to the drama. My fiance and I were planning on a simple ceremony at the registrar office and then dinner with the family afterwards. We were planning on having a big wedding in Canada next year once my visa is approved and I am working. It's important to note that my parents are unable to travel due to their health, and my future in-laws can and do travel abroad several times a year. Also, we live in the same city as my future in-laws, but my fiance owns his own home. As soon as I arrived, my future mother-in-law starts making wedding plans. My fiance has 4 siblings, 2 sisters and 2 brothers, but none of them are married. One of his sisters does have a younger daughter. Well, my future mother-in-law tells me it's the first one of her children to get married and it needs to be special. She starts by telling me that we need to marry in the church her and her husband were married in. I tell her I'm not comfortable with that since I'm of a different faith. She goes on to tell me that we need to have a proper reception so the whole family can be there. I wanted to make her happy, so we agreed on a small reception. We explained we don't have the money to afford anything extravagant. I was also uncomfortable having a big wedding without my family there, which is why we were planning a large wedding in Canada next year. She said that would be unfair to her family because her other children didn't have the money to travel abroad and some of them didn't have passports. By the way, she wasn't offering to pay for anything. On to the tack. Every Sunday, we had dinner at home, and she would tell me all these ideas she had. She insisted her granddaughter must be the flower girl. Her daughters had to be bridesmaids. Her son needs to be a groomsman. We told her we were just having a simple ceremony at the registrar's office. She said we could do a wedding walk at the reception. She suggested venues that were way out of budget, which we told her. She asked her friend if we could use their manor for the reception, and they agreed, but still wanted to charge us quite a bit. We never agreed to this, but future mother-in-law said she already promised her friend. Future father-in-law agreed to pay for the manor. We wanted to compromise, so we agreed to a small reception at the manor. However, every suggestion I made was shot down. I wanted my colors to be purple and black. Future mother-in-law said that was too dark and bad luck and not flattering on her daughters, and purple was not an appropriate color to make a man wear. We should do red and green to match the venue. I wanted daisies, my mom's favorite flower. She said daisies were childish, and we had to have roses because her middle name is Rose, and it's tradition. I suggested roses and daisies, and she said they don't go together. My fiance and I told her that a lot of her ideas were way out of our price range. On to her brilliant money-saving ideas. She went to those cheap online shops with nice pictures that send you paper dresses and plastic garbage. She thought I should get my dress and all the decorations from these cheap shops. She sent me listings for hideous dresses, plaid shoes, ugly press-on nails, dingy flowers. She suggested I spend this week leading up to the wedding making all the food. The final straw was when she took her daughter and granddaughters to an actual bridal shop to pick out dresses and shoes. She arranged a spa day for them all to have their hair and nails done. I wasn't invited because I would be busy making all the food. Future mother-in-law said she would pay for her daughter's dresses, shoes, and spa day, and I could pay her back after the wedding. At this point, I was fuming, as was my fiance. We told her we would not be going ahead with any of her plans. We would be going to the registrar office as originally planned. Future mother-in-law was not happy. She said she had already made all these plans and paid for the venue. We told her that was too bad. She demanded we pay her the money she and her future father-in-law paid to the venue. We told her no. She could still use the venue for whatever she wanted. Am I wrong for backing out after future mother-in-law made all these plans? Let's get a couple quick reactions from the community before moving on with the update. First up, not the a-hole. I agree with the first comment though. You should have shut her down from the start. Compromising on your wedding is not what it's about. It's yours and your husband's big day. Elope and then have the big wedding in Canada like you originally planned. Also, I keep reading future mother-in-law as effing mother-in-law in my head, although I'm sure you meant father and mother-in-law. Next person says, not the a-hole. You should have shut her down from the start. Go elope and call it a day. This is your wedding. Don't let anyone bully you into having their wedding. Update. So my future mother-in-law came to me with the weirdest olive branch. This past Sunday, we went to my future in-law's house for dinner for Mother's Day. Things have been tense since my fiancé and I told her we didn't want to go through with her wedding plans. After dinner, we were chatting when my future mother-in-law said she had something to discuss. She said she had done a lot of thinking and thinks she has the perfect compromise. She goes to her room and emerged with the ugliest dress I've ever seen. Imagine a heap of purple ruffles, lace, and ribbons. And it was huge. She proudly says it is her wedding dress from 1985. She then explained she had spoken to her daughters and they graciously agreed to wear a different dress when they decided to get married. I don't blame them. This dress was absolutely hideous. I was scared she wanted me to wear the nightmare of a dress, but no. She said she had the dress dyed purple as an olive branch, and she would be wearing it. I was stunned into silence. The dye job was cheap and the dress was horrible. Not only that, she found a massive hat on a slightly different shade of purple to go with it that had a band of plastic daisies around the brim. It looks ridiculous. She then goes on to say, "Yes, I can still fit into it. See, we can have a wedding with your colors. My daughters have agreed to each make a dish for the reception, and I will make the cake. We just want to be there to celebrate with you guys." At this point, I was beyond words. My fiancé said we will discuss it and get back to her this week. She seemed disappointed that we didn't agree in that moment. When we got in the car, I burst out laughing. I told her we should go through with the wedding just to see her in that horrid dress. After all, it was a big step for her to dye her own wedding dress to try to make us happy. We called his sister, the one with a child, to wish her a happy Mother's Day and told her about the dress. She said her and the other sisters were over the moon that their mom was willing to dye her dress for our wedding because that meant they wouldn't be pressured into wearing it for their wedding. So guys, I read your comments and thank you for all the support. Fiancé and I have decided to set a firm budget and hard boundaries, but we will go ahead with the wedding. Maybe because I'm dying to see my future mother-in-law in this dress. So if she wants a tacky wedding, let's see how tacky we can go. After all, we are going to plan another wedding in Canada anyway. So if anyone has any tacky ideas, let me know. From the beginning, you were clear about what you and your fiancé wanted. A simple ceremony now and a bigger celebration later so your family can actually be a part of it. That's completely reasonable, especially given your parents' health. The issue isn't that your future mother-in-law was excited. It's that she kept making decisions for you, ignoring your boundaries, and even committing money without your agreement. You tried to compromise, and every time you did, it sounded like she pushed things further instead of meeting you halfway. At that point, it makes sense that you pulled back and reset things. And honestly, since you're planning a second wedding in Canada that really reflects what you want, it probably takes a lot of pressure off of this one. At this point, it can just be about getting married and having a bit of, slightly chaotic, celebration with his family. Did you ever have to compromise to keep the peace for a wedding? Share your stories with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.